What is up, guys? It is Wednesday, and we're here to have some fun on the show. Joining me on today's show, we have Davis Maddock, Derek Carty, and Dan Gasper, a.k.a. Mr. Tuttle. Mr. Tuttle won the gross word of the day on Monday slate of games on FanDuel on Monday. Dan, you want to take us through like how you were feeling on Monday, like from this is kind of a gross slate to I'm going to Vegas?
I wasn't really expecting it. The nice thing about that team that I threw together, though, usually late swaps, if you tinker with your team, they go against you. That one actually went in my favor. As you guys know, I always have Ryan Rayburn love. So I decided that I actually needed some more Ryan Rayburn exposure as opposed to Gordon Beckham. And going down to Rayburn then allowed me to go Viciedo in my lineup. So the late swap worked in my favor that time.
So how happy were you? Like, did you do a fist pump? I mean, is this getting normal for you?
Yeah, I don't want to pretend I'm being all cocky, but it still hasn't really, like... It doesn't... It feels a little surreal. Like, it doesn't feel... It didn't feel like the first time I qualified for FanDuel where, it was just out of control and I was really, really happy and things were going crazy.
Is it almost like...
It hasn't even hit me this time, I guess, and it probably won't until I get out into Vegas.
Is it almost like a relief, like when you knock one of these down now? Like, at first it was like jubilation and now it's like relief that you don't have to spend a ton of money on your bankroll, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. And there's also some sort of pressure because I have qualified in the past. There's a little pressure, just almost a lot of people are almost expecting you to qualify. So it's nice to get it out of the way. But yeah, the big thing is then you're not burning bankroll trying to qualify anymore.
That must be really difficult for you to have that pressure.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
Yeah.
Tuttle also won his first matchup. It was not the prettiest of
disgusting
matchups, but the bottom line is he beat G123, so he just needs one of the next two to go in his favor, and he advances to the next round in the Draft Street Heavy Hitters game. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what's going on right now. There are some early games, but I want to let you guys talk about the late games. And if you're just now tuning in, this is the Fantasy Insiders Daily Fantasy MLB show sponsored by FantasyElite. Derek is 2-0 in his FantasyElite games now.
Yeah.
So he is.
I knew he was going to get the best of me real early on last night when Oakland came out and looked like crap, which doesn't happen very often. But yeah. I basically just went with the entire A's roster last night, and it did not work out real great for me.
Yeah, last night was a little rough with I had Yordano Ventura everywhere. Literally everywhere. There was one single lineup that I had that did not have him in the lineup.
Hey, Drew Pomeranz, though. Just that's the only thing I got right on yesterday's show.
Yeah.
But that went my way.
There was so much. I should have just, I don't know. I should have just not played on a big Tuesday night. That's never going to happen, but
it's never...
That's what I should have done. It was terrible.
Well, that's what you feel like every night. You're like, well, this is how it happens. Every day when there's not one obvious starting pitching option, like, well, maybe I'll play light tonight. And then by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, well, I like this guy and this guy. And then, so if there's not a lot of good starting pitching options, there's a lot of good hitting options. And then I'm at my full volume by 4:30.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, basically. So let's talk about some of the baseball. All of the baseball. I'll let you guys handle the baseball talk. I'm starving. I'm gonna go get an apple real quick, but I'll be right back. So you guys just do the baseball thing.
You're dieting, right?
Yeah, and I'm starving. You know what I've had?
Oh, that's awful, dude.
I'm like on the Derek Carty diet, where I've had a protein bar. I've had a banana, and I've had, let's see, what else? I think that might be it for today. Like, I am struggling right now, so I'm going to go get an apple. I got all this stuff.
Everyone's making fun of you, and rightfully so, in chat.
Dude, you know what you should do if you're hungry, man? Start smoking cigarettes. You'll never want to eat again.
Davis, are you still like off of your cigarette kick, or are you back on?
No, I don't smoke anymore, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it's been like 2 months. Maybe even longer than that.
Slow clap for that one, man. That's great. All right, well, let's talk about the baseball.
Okay, cool. Well, the first thing we need to talk about is there are like 4 or 5 games, I think, that are being threatened by weather. 2 games that are really important, Arizona and St. Louis, because if that game is threatened at all, you don't like to take pitchers in games that are threatened by rain, so that kind of eliminates Waka from the pitcher conversation. And then also the San Francisco-Colorado game being threatened by rain. Any game in Coors Field with the offensive potential. I haven't looked at any of the forecast stuff in a couple hours. What are you seeing right now, Tuttle?
Trying to look through some of the stuff right now, see if anything pops up. It potentially looks like you'll get a little window with Colorado to come in, or for them to play. Pittsburgh is another game that you're going to have to pay close attention to the weather. It looks like starting about an hour into the game, they're projecting thunderstorms for that one. Those are the main ones coming up right now.
Yeah, and right now I'm seeing 0% chance of rain for Arizona St. Louis, so that changed in the last couple hours.
Yeah, it looks like it's not going to roll in until later in the night, around 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and the big thing I admittedly haven't done yet to this point, what you're going to want to do if you get scenarios like this, you kind of want to look at almost at a team schedule too. Like you look at Colorado and San Francisco and see that there's potential rain throughout the whole night. You want to look and see, if you think they're going to try to force the game in. Look at the upcoming schedule and see if they have, a day off. If both teams have a shared day,
well, they'll just play a doubleheader tomorrow. Then they'll
just play, or they'll just play a doubleheader tomorrow. So that's something that you should look into.
Yeah, so I think that's actually, I've never thought about that before, but yeah, if there's rain tonight, they would definitely just play a doubleheader tomorrow, since San Francisco is still scheduled to be there tomorrow because this is the second game of the series.
Yeah, and then the other way to look at it would be obviously like say something tomorrow crops up. They don't have the next day to work in a doubleheader, so that's something to look at when you're taking weather concerns into consideration.
Cool, and Christopher Pacheco just telling us in chat that the weather seems to be cleared up in Colorado, so doesn't even look like that much of a concern. So honestly, if those 2 games go as scheduled, I think everything else is sort of extra. You don't need to force anything in those games. Am I wrong? Either one of you guys? Other games being threatened where you're targeting hitters?
Not that
Are you
I'm
talking
seeing.
about like the Baltimore game or like?
I guess Dodgers Mets has a 35% chance of thunder showers.
Yeah. I don't think you really have to force it in those games. I mean, I think there's probably some Dodgers hitters you could look at. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, I'm not necessarily, on anyone, super heavily where I need to force it. I mean, a guy like Alvarez could be good, but aside from that, I don't think you really need to try and, shove guys into your lineup if the weather is looking bad closer to game time.
Yeah, I have D. Gordon in my lineup right now on a couple sites, but seeing that threat of rain, I think I'm probably gonna move him on out. So let's get started. Let's talk about pitchers. I'm assuming Waka is the #1 guy for both of you.
Not
No.
me.
Okay,
No.
all right. Well, let's talk
Derek
about
wrote the
that.
pitching article, so I'll let him.
Yeah, I'll let him
go.
go.
I think my top tonight. Well, I just said you don't need to try and shove someone in from the Dodgers Mets game, but Ryu is actually my top pitcher. I forgot. I like him a lot tonight. His value, or his price rather, seems to have come down quite a bit since he's been on the DL. It's his first start back, so obviously there's some risk there. He might not get to throw as many pitches as he otherwise would. But he threw 75 in a simulated game a couple days ago, or a few days ago. And the Mets are not a good team. So, I don't think it's going to be that much trouble for him to go 5 innings, weather permitting. And, the Mets are one of the worst offenses in baseball. They strike out a lot. His opposing pitcher is going to give up a ton of runs. So I think Ryu is is a nice play, especially considering that you're going to get him at a pretty sizable discount.
I definitely disagree with that. I think that there are, with the concern about pitch count and with the weather, I think I'm like all the way off of Ryu. I don't disagree with your analysis in terms of how he's going to do against the hitters, but I mean, any sort of delay.
The weather now is an additional concern for me. When I was writing it, that it wasn't,
right, yeah,
factoring in.
Davis brings up a point that I'm actually siding with Derek on this one. Pitch count, which is something you certainly have to take into consideration a lot of times, especially when it's a first start back from a stint on the DL. But Derek touched on it in his article. He hit a simulation or had a game where he pitched 75 pitch simulated game. You're looking at probably 90 to 100 pitches, and you have pretty good clarity that that's what he'll pitch. It's laid out for you.
But if he has if he has a 2-walk inning where he has to work a guy into a ground ball, something like that could be a 5-inning outing, which is not what you want. When I think that there are, on like a 1-pitcher site, I think that there are like really superior options to a 90-pitch guy.
Yeah, but a 1-pitching site, yeah, I can see. But DraftKings, he's 8,200. Star Street, he's 20,000. I mean, those are really good prices for the quality of pitch you're getting.
Yeah. And I think there are other options tonight, but I don't think there's a lot of really elite options. Like Waka, even if you want to consider him elite, I don't think the matchup is so good that he's like an automatic cash game play. I've said it a few times on the show. I think Arizona's lineup is a lot better than people give it credit for. I think Arizona has an above average, borderline good offense. So
I think the guy that for me kind of made it like the top of my box is Tyson Ross.
Yeah.
We're
Ross
finally
my next guy, yeah.
We're finally seeing the Minnesota Twins offense not so much come back to earth. Like, I don't think they were doing anything that was crazy over their head, but all it was is that a bunch of their hitters were taking more pitches than they had before in their career. But we're kind of seeing that trail off now. And Ross he doesn't have the control actually that you would say for sure that you want. He allows 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so that's not great. But he also has 8.2 K per 9, and right now he has an xFIP of 3.3. So I think against a Twins offense, and he's much better at home, I think Ross is my number one guy all the way across the board, even on Draft Street where he is tagged like sort of an elite pitcher now. I think at home I can deal with that price tag.
Yeah, after especially if you're scared off at all with Ryu, with the weather, or with the pitch count, I think Ross is the next guy I'm going to look at with Jared Weaver, close behind him.
Yeah, the thing too with Ross, obviously with the Twins coming over to the NL, they're losing a DH, even though it wasn't anything to write home about. It's not like they had a great DH hitter for him, anyways. But their pitcher will have to bat, which certainly goes in Ross's favor.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see who they have at catcher tonight. If Suzuki's in there again, that's definitely going to help, as opposed to Pinto behind the plate.
All right, this is a question for Derek. So we talk a lot of the times about how not having the DH helps, but obviously if we as fantasy owners were given a choice between having the DH and getting an extra inning pitched, like getting a chance to get 3 extra outs versus getting pinch hit for, like, mathematically, is it still an advantage, even though, like, do National League starters go shorter on average than AL starters? Is basically what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I know that the effect of not having the DH on the whole, though, is huge. Like, for year-long leagues, I would do, like, studies on it because it's, like, something you need to take into consideration. And a guy who moves from the American League to the National League cuts a half point off his ERA. If he's a 4 ERA pitcher in the American League, he's a 3.5 ERA pitcher in the National League. I mean, like, the effect it's big.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say they pick up an extra strikeout. I mean, that's your inning right there on FanDuel.
And yeah, you add there's a pretty sizable strikeout bump too from it.
Okay,
I mean,
that makes sense.
If you're facing a pitcher, 3 times in the game, I mean, there's a pretty good chance one of those is going to be a strikeout, and then that's your inning.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because that's basically been something. Because when I played last year, I obviously wasn't as good. I didn't know all the things that I know now. I would take AL pitchers a lot more because I just wanted to get those extra innings. But I think that the added value of having that pitcher basically being that automatic out is really big for our purposes. So I think looking at NL pitchers is definitely the way to go. So outside of Ross and outside of Waka, who are some other guys you're looking at? Are either one of you on Phil Hughes? He's faced 119 batters in a row without walking anybody. Like you definitely can't target him. You can't target him with Padres hitters, I don't think.
No, I debated Phil Hughes as like one of my long shot options, but he is going up against Tyson Ross, so that's a little bit of a concern. But he's not a bad pitcher. I mean, the control this year, I think he's not as good, control-wise as he's been showing. But he's not like an awful pitcher. I think as a long shot, he's okay. I think there's better long shot options today, but he was a guy that was on my radar at least.
Yeah, I assume from your facial expression that you're all the way off that train, Tuttle.
I just can't touch it.
No, I wouldn't play him, but this is also a thing where like I'm being stubborn by like using hitters against him and seeing it. And I think that something we do with baseball is we tend to stick to something that we've seen for the last several years, and because early data is so noisy, we don't make adjustments that quickly. But like, so we've obviously all come around on Keuchel, right? Like, he leads the league in ground ball rate. Like, he's made changes. And so I think that something that we as players have not adjusted to is the fact that Hughes no longer has a 310-foot right field wall. Like, there's not the short porch anymore, and that really matters to a pitcher like Hughes. So I definitely don't think I'm not going to be using him, but I think it is something that we need to be conscious of and adjust to, because Hughes has been very good before, even in Yankee Stadium. Who's someone that you're liking, Cardi, that's not Tyson Ross or Michael Wacha or Ryu?
Jared Weaver, I like a lot. I mean, everyone kind of, I don't know, shakes their head at Weaver because he's throwing, 85 miles an hour now, and his velocity has been in a huge decline. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like Weaver's ever a guy who ever threw that hard. It's not like he's a guy who ever relied on his velocity. I mean, he knows how to pitch. He has good pitchability. He has good secondary offerings. And the matchup today is really good. I mean, his peripherals are exactly in line with what he's done in the past. He's, striking out some batters, showing good control, getting tons of pop-ups. And he's up against Houston, who has one lefty bat that you're going to worry about. And that's it. So I like him today. He's at home, so I think it's a good matchup for him.
Yeah, I'm not going to use Weaver, basically just because I think that you can't trust him, because this is my concern with him is not, oh, he throws 85, he's not any good anymore. I've learned the last couple weeks, obviously, that velocity is not everything. But my concern is always when a guy loses velocity. Yeah, he can become crafty and he can learn his pitches better. But if he just doesn't have it on that day, it's a lot easier for guys to get a read on him when he's throwing 85, basically.
Mm-hmm. And there's less margin for error. There's more room for a blow-up, where maybe like if a guy who throws 95, his secondary stuff isn't, if his breaking ball isn't breaking as sharply as it normally does on a given day, he's going to be able to get by a little bit easier throwing 95 than Weaver is going to be if his breaking stuff isn't working. But yeah, so maybe there's more risk with it. So maybe more of a GPP. I still think he's a cash game play, but yeah. I think a better GPP play, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick posted in chat actually something that Derek touched on in his article with Weaver, saying it's last time out was the best he's felt in pretty much the last couple of years. So he's got that going in his favor too, where he's actually feeling good and he's been pain free. So yeah, the quote says Weaver said that he's been pain free throwing for the first time in 5 years.
I think that there's something really big to that health thing. I think health matters more to pitchers than like the fantasy player realizes, because this is something that every 5 days I've been complaining about on Twitter with Eric Bedard. Eric Bedard, like the last 2 years, has just been just a train wreck, just so bad. And this year, targeting hitters against him has not worked out. Like, he's been really good. And the problem with Bedard always was health, but sometimes he would pitch through those injuries. So I definitely think that there's something to that, like when a pitcher is healthy. Now, that being said, there's some stuff with Weaver that would lead me to believe that this is going to stop soon. His batting average on balls in play right now is .239. You'd expect that to increase. And right now, his xFIP is 4.2, which is a full run better than his ERA. So there are some peripherals
the thing is, though, with Weaver, Weaver's not the kind of guy where you can look at the peripherals and be like, oh, his ERA is going to fall all the way back to where his xFIP is. I mean, for his career...
Yeah, look at his career numbers. 3.37 ERA,
4.24 ERA, and a 4.10 xFIP. He's not that kind of pitcher because he's getting tons of pop-ups, because he is inducing weak contact, and because he's preventing home runs, better than the normal pitcher does. So, I mean, what he's doing now in terms of the peripherals and in terms of like the luck numbers aren't out of line with what he's done for the last 7 or 8 years,
So he's reversed Greinke, basically.
Yeah.
Because Greinke has, like, he's the xFIP all-star, right? I mean, we don't have to go far into this.
Yeah, I think the Greinke thing is a little bit overstated, but I get your point.
All right, we've basically covered the guys that we're looking at for cash games, or have we not? Tuttle, am I missing out on someone that you're looking at for cash games? I think it's pretty straightforward, though.
I think lineup construction on Draft Street, which is where I've mainly focused my time today, lineup construction is possibly, or it looks like to me at least, that it might be forcing me into one of Derek's long shot pitchers of the day, and that'd be Kyle Kendrick, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, no, I'd rather just go Waka, Ross, Rosenthal if that was my option.
No, I mean, relief pitcher is hardly ever the way to go on Draft Street because of the points you can get. I mean, you really have to luck into something if you're going to relief pitcher on Draft Street.
The only 2 times I've used a relief pitcher all year, they've gotten the save. So obviously I'm biased.
Yeah, and you've only used it 2 times this year.
Yeah.
That should tell you something, too.
But, yeah, today I really want to load up on Oakland bats versus Bedard, because I never learn. But, I don't know. We should talk about Eovaldi, because he's been super good at home. He's a 3.5 career ERA guy versus a weak offense. Obviously, my first instinct was to be all over him, because I love Nathan Eovaldi. But the Phillies have 6 left-handed bats, and Jimmy Rollins, who's a switch hitter, leading off. So that's obviously big-time cause for concern, because I think that Eovaldi has a huge platoon split. I'm not positive. I'm going to look at that right now. Are you considering Eovaldi at all, Derek?
He was on my radar, because he's at home, because Philly isn't that threatening of an offense. But when you consider that Philly has so many lefty bats, I mean, Utley, Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Kodiak,
his platoon split is
Don Brown.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing Eovaldi tonight.
Yeah, it's a 70-point weighted on base average split. So I'm not even I love Nathan Eovaldi. I'm not touching that tonight outside of tournaments. I think I'll probably use him in an A's stack in the moonshot on DraftKings. That's probably about it. Tuttle?
I don't have a problem with it, but I tend to agree that with how lefty-heavy the Phillies are going tonight, there's probably better options out there.
Okay, and I mean, I guess we should probably talk about Irvin Santana, who's been like really incredible this year. He and I mean, we know that the Brewers don't do that great against right-handed pitching. We haven't mentioned him at all, and he's like the most expensive pitcher. So, are either one of you looking towards Irvin Santana at all? I mean, he's still pretty cheap for an expensive pitcher, especially on FanDuel.
He was on my radar mostly because he's at home against Milwaukee, who struggle a little bit against righties. I don't think he's as strong a play as Tyson Ross or Bieber, especially considering the price tag. So I don't think I'm going to be playing Santana anywhere tonight. I think Loesch is an interesting option in the same game. Getting out of Miller Park, Atlanta, strikes out a pretty lot. I do think their offense is pretty good, so I'm not going to be playing Loesch either. But I think Loesch offers a little more value than Santana does.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to hitters. Before we go, I just want to throw out
Jose Quintana, GPP option tonight. I like him.
All right, well, that's ridiculous. No, it's not. No, it's not. The Royals. I will continue to say how much the Royals suck. Like the only time like more often than not, you're gonna get a starter who can go 6 innings with 2 earned run and like 5 Ks against them. So I don't hate that at all.
Who calls him?
Dink points out that Sal Perez isn't even playing tonight, who would have been one of the biggest threats against him. So
the bottom of that lineup is Pedro Sirocco and Brett Hayes. I don't even know if those are real players.
Danny Valencia is hitting 6th.
That seems not optimal. So, god damn it, the Royals, they suck so bad. Okay, let's talk about hitters. Beginning with Stacks, I'll let Tuttle have first dibs on Stacks because I think there are a lot of different ways you can go with this tonight.
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's a game in Colorado, I think that's probably going to be home to your top stack of the night. I don't mind. It's pretty even split tonight. Kane hasn't been obviously very good as of late, so I don't mind going Colorado bats. I don't mind going San Francisco bats. But since we'll probably be touching on all those hitters anyways, I think probably the next stack in line would be the Red Sox against Hutchison. Even though I think Hutchison really has good stuff, I think they just... I'm liking how it's setting up for him tonight.
I think I disagree with you there because I was just reading some stuff on Fangraphs yesterday about like Hutchinson being one of the in terms of WAR, he's like one of the 5 most improved pitchers this year. Basically, I don't think he's as weak as his past numbers would seem to indicate. Basically, and
no,
I got
definitely
burned.
Not. I like Hutchinson this year. I'm believing in to a pretty large extent the numbers that he's putting up.
Yeah, and I got burned last night by using Red Sox bats against Cy-Hap. So again, that's
so as long as it's
better than that. Hutchinson has good stuff.
So I'm just trying to figure out your recency bias here. As long as it doesn't have to do with the A's, then it's fine. I mean, basically you have no memory as long as it deals with Oakland, but any other team, then as long as you've been burned by them in the past, they're off limits.
I'm just teasing. I just think that Hutchinson is a case of not adjusting to recent information quite as much. Now, obviously, the Red Sox have a ton of talented hitters, and your pick could very well work out. But when I'm setting down to set my lineup, I don't think they would And also, the Red Sox haven't been as good as they should be. They're middle of the league. They're 15th in runs scored. So they're not an offense that I would super want to use. Basically,
I'm just saying. I mean, the main reason they're coming up for me is because they're tied for the highest team total of the night, with the Rockies and Giants, which is the main reason why I'm looking at their bats is because they have a team total of 4.5, which is pretty high, and it's like I said, it's tied with the Rockies and Giants out there.
All right. Well, Dink is chastising me in chat. I'm not. God, I can't talk about baseball intelligently. It's so hard. But basically, I didn't have Gomes. I had Victorino, so that's what made the difference in my points last night. Was that I didn't get the Gomes home run. But Derek, let's go with your stack.
Obviously, San Francisco is the big one. San Francisco is huge tonight. I think too they have some good cheap bats that you can look at, like Tyler Colvin and Hector Sanchez. I think you can fill them in, at the bottom end of your roster and look really good. I like both stacks from the Oakland-Tampa Bay game. I think either of them are going to be good stacks tonight. Not on the Red Sox as much because I think Hutchison is a pretty good player. Weather permitting, I think you could go with a little mini Dodgers stack. I don't think Chicago is awful. I don't think San Diego is awful. So that's probably where I'm looking.
You could out of that A's Rays game, you could stack those offenses in such a cost-effective way. You could use Gentry, Blanks, Brandon Geyer, and Sean Rodriguez, and have money left to spend on literally anyone you want on any site. So I definitely think that is a way that I would be looking. In terms of that Red Sox stack is nice because they have a lot of those left-handed bats in that lineup. Tuttle, you're probably right. That actually is an offense that I would look at tonight with Sizemore, leading off and having the platoon advantage. I think the White Sox offense tonight versus Guthrie. I think you can look at Eaton and Gillespie and De Aza for like some super cheap value. Basically, Gillespie is, I think, probably one of the more like not talked about third base options, and he's been pretty good this year. And I just don't think Guthrie is very good at all. So I think that he's probably in a nice spot.
Yeah, I don't think Guthrie is a very good pitcher. I think it's fine if you want to play Gillespie or Eaton or De Aza against him. I mean, a guy like Dunn might be a little harder because he's priced according to playing in U.S. Cellular, and it's a lot harder to hit home runs in Kauffman Stadium. But I think if you stack against Guthrie, there's some possibilities.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get talking about positional values. Let's talk about catchers. I'm assuming. Well, plus Posey is not in the lineup again. He's hurt. So I mean, you guys obviously already know who I'm going to recommend at catchers. So who's someone that you're looking for, Tuttle?
Well, you're going to recommend what? Derek Norris.
Derek Norris, of course. Yeah.
Obviously.
So with Posey not in the lineup, Hector Sanchez is obviously an option. He was overpriced, I think, yesterday on Draft Street, so I avoided him there. But his price is back down on Draft Street to 4.7. So he's definitely in play there, and his price is deflated across the industry. Another guy, I know you guys don't want to pick on Hutchison, but I think Pierzynski's in a decent spot. Looks like he's batting fifth tonight, which is a bit of a bump for him. He's usually around that 6th spot.
There's a difference between picking on and like that's a good spot. Like Pierzynski batting fifth against him with the platoon advantage. That's a good spot. Like I have no problem with that.
It's not a bad play.
Yeah.
Nah, I probably won't end up with him, but I don't think it's a bad play. I think Hector Sanchez looks like a really good play. I think Salty is a decent play. I think Ryan Hannigan is a good punt play. There's someone else I was looking at. Maybe not. Ignore me.
Yeah. And yeah, catcher seems kind of like barren tonight. I don't know if there's anyone that I'm really looking at. I mean,
I like Norris. I mean, Norris he's your guy, but I feel like I should mention him too because he's a great play tonight.
Yeah, it's the way that they structure it, the Oakland guys are normally a good play, especially against. I mean, let's talk about this Bedard thing a little bit. Is he just like why has he been so good? I have no idea how he has been so effective consistently too, because his numbers are really bad. Like if you look at his 3-year splits, now, but a lot of it is reliant on health. So is it the simple explanation just that he's healthy again?
No, the simple explanation is he's getting lucky. He hasn't allowed a single home run yet. I mean, that's going to change. His batting average on balls in play is way too low, which means he's stranding more runners than he should be. I mean, he's walking tons of batters. His strikeout rate isn't what it used to be. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher now. So, I mean, that'll come up a little bit, but he's not a good pitcher. I have no problem stacking against Bedard.
I mean,
especially since Oakland's getting a park bump.
Is there like a leaderboard anywhere to see the difference between someone's ERA and their xFIP? Because if there is, I would bet that Bedard is near the top of that with a 2.7 ERA and a 4.99 xFIP.
Yeah, Fangraphs might have one. I know they have one for FIP. I don't know if they do for xFIP.
Okay.
And Derek brings up his walk rate. I mean, his strand rate is around league average, so it's not crazy. But having a league average strand rate when you're walking 4 batters a game is pretty lucky, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's really all the conversation we need to have at catcher. I think that catcher, I don't think is a position that you're going to fill in first tonight. I think it's going to be a position that you come back to after you've gotten guys in your lineup that you like at other spots. I think a more interesting conversation is second base options tonight, because I think that there is a lot of different ways to go based on your opinions about today's pitchers. So, for example, I think that like Howie Kendrick versus McHugh could be in like not a terrible spot just because that Angels lineup is so potent. And even though he doesn't have the platoon advantage, McHugh could just be awful and be really lucky right now. Or D. Gordon or Chase Utley. So there are a lot of ways to look. Who is someone who's near the top of your list, Tuttle?
I personally think second base is pretty ugly tonight. I think Ben wrote up Derek Dietrich. I don't have a problem with that if you want to
I like
If you don't mind the park factor and him hitting in a pitcher's park, I don't mind that. But I kind of think tonight is a night, unless you're going D Gordon, that you're pretty much just saving on second base.
I really like Forsythe.
Yeah,
I wish he was getting higher, but
yeah, Forsythe. Yeah, he's batting 8th, which isn't quite as appealing. Like I said, I spent most of my time on Draft Street today, and a guy that is absolutely dirt cheap. I don't love it because he tends to strike out a lot on Draft Street. You get the negative .75, but batting 5th against Phil Hughes, Jed Jorko is 2,600 on Draft Street. So I think he's in play there.
Okay, I did not see that. I'm gonna have to go mess around on Draft Street.
Yeah, I mean, and that's basically how it looks like I'm constructing my lineup. Is that I'm just gonna, because I don't like second base. So if I can get a guy batting 5th against a good pitcher so far this year, but an average pitcher overall for pretty much minimum price, I think you almost have to go that route.
Yeah, even though he doesn't have the platoon advantage, when he's that cheap and Hughes really isn't, I don't think that good. I think that's a good play just because the price is so low. I think if you don't go Gordon, though, I think you do just go cheap at second base tonight. I think you go with like a guy like Logan Forsythe, or you go with like a Colton Wong, or I don't know, Dietrich, someone like that.
Wouldn't it be awesome if the A's had a good second baseman? Like, that would be great, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Kai
Bedard.
Aspo, where he qualifies at second, I'm okay with.
I don't think he does qualify at second anywhere. I think he's third base most spots. Yeah, he's playing second tonight because Lowry's hurt. Yeah, I think I'm looking at where they're eligible. I don't know if Sean Rodriguez still has second base eligibility. Forsythe, it sucks that he's hitting so low, but I still don't hate him. I think as our friend Drew would say, Tommy Mione is not in a great spot tonight.
No, not at all.
If we're talking about differences, like Drew Pomeranz last night scuffled a little bit. He was faced with the bases loaded a couple times, got out of it. Mione's not that good, doesn't have the K rate. I think that the Rays offense is going to be able to do some stuff versus him tonight. So I don't hate that. I have D Gordon locked in as of right now. Okay. So shortstop. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Tulowitzki, I'm going to ask every night when they're at home, yes or no tonight.
No.
Okay, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah, not tonight. I actually played him last night, but his price went up about 2,000 on Draft Street overnight, so not in play for me.
You kind of expected that to happen, though.
You know who I like tonight, and it's very, very rare that I will recommend a Royals hitter, but I really like Escobar tonight. Hitting second rather than hitting ninth. He has a little bit of pop, more than I even realized, and I think I agree with Derek's analysis that Quintana is like not an awful option tonight. I took him in my elite draft versus Tuttle, but that's because a lot of the Royals' best hitters are left-handed hitters. But Alcides is a right-handed hitter, and I think he's in a not terrible spot, and he's super cheap. 3K on FanDuel, 3.7 I believe 4.1 on DraftKings, and like 5 point something on Draft Street. So he's someone I'm looking at shortstop tonight.
Yeah, I like Quintana tonight as kind of a risky, low-price GPP, second, third starting pitcher play. But I don't think Escobar is a bad play against him at all. I think Yunel Escobar is kind of a sneaky good play tonight. He's so cheap everywhere. He's up to 6th in the order tonight. I think he looks kind of good. I think Brandon Crawford is a good play tonight if you want to go cheaper.
Crawford and Hicks need to be mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Crawford more so than Hicks, I think. I like some of the changes that Crawford has made this year. I think he's a solid option tonight. I think Jimmy Rollins is in consideration. Actually, no, forget it. Forget I said that. I take it back entirely.
Rewind.
You take what back entirely?
Jimmy Rollins.
I didn't say it.
All right. Well, let's. Yeah. I mean, I think shortstop's pretty. Tuttle, do you want to talk about anybody?
Yeah, shortstop's kind of ugly.
Yeah. You touched most of it.
All right, cool. Well, it is Young Kaiser.
Always in play as a kind of a min cheap option, just because of on base and then stolen base potential. night.
Toto, I think your video is messing up a little bit. But it doesn't matter because it's everyone's favorite time. It's Young Kaiser Tweet of the Week time. Take it away, Kitchen.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it is that time for the Young Kaisers Tweets of the Week. Let's start off with, you know, if you don't follow Young Kaiser, it's at YoungKaiser740, and he is a great follow. Let's start off with him pre-planning a tweet yesterday, and here is what he says. Got a good tweet tonight after one of my players dong. Fast forward. Leone said, man, was really hoping to get to see it. And he said, yeah. Hold on. Let me get... Let me get my soundboard ready. Okay, because I'm going to definitely have to use this soundboard more than I thought I would. Or have in the past. He says, yeah, that's... Hold on. Take it. It's not playing. Okay, forget it. My sensor's not
I'll do
working,
the
so
bleeps for you.
Okay, yeah, that's... Beep up. I couldn't do my dong tweet last night because I didn't get any, you jinx bastard. Oh gosh. All right. The next one, I guess. I don't even know if there's never. Dan, I'm gonna definitely need you on this.
Okay.
This is after his player. So we haven't really gotten to the volatility of Young Kaiser's potential tweets. Sometimes he can be pretty ruthless. So Dan, I'm going to basically need you on this. So we'll just bring it up. Xander, you is a stupid beep.
Beep, beep. You didn't pull the... Oh, there it is. Okay.
You crackhead. Not known how to hit a
beep.
Baseball dumb having
Mother beep.
Go to the monster and jump off.
I missed that one. I'm not sure if we should do. I'm not sure if we should have that word, one of the words there, even in our broadcast. But okay.
Oh gosh, yeah, this is definitely uncensored. So this is after he stacked the. This is after he stacked the Brewers. I'm crying over here. Brewers, you guys are beep trash. Hope y'all's plane get hit by a Russian missile. Beep bum. Beep. Okay, thank you. All right, next one. Mr. Cano, please go back to New York where the field is 274 and you can get home runs there, you beep bum. Beep. You have a great matchup. Beep beep. Crab cake. I don't even know what crab cake is. But it's something. Oh gosh. All right. So I think those were the most volatile ones. This is just him on a personal level. About to smash these waffles with a big dumbass glass of milk.
That's my favorite. So you need to do that in a better Young Kaiser voice. That's it. Do this one as Young Kaiser waking up in the morning.
I'm about to smash these waffles with a big dumbass glass of milk, then head to the airport. Oh gosh. The next one. I have a feeling when I get older, I'm going to be a streaker with socks and KY jelly on. Hashtag keeping it hood. Hashtag buck naked champ. Hashtag dry jacking. Speaking of, that brings us to the last tweets from Young Kaiser. This was like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he said he was already up. I said, morning, sunshine. He says, hey, sexy, what you doing up? Oh, I know, you slow jacking, my fault. To which I said, I didn't even know there was a thing called slow jacking. I just know one speed. And this is where the best tweet for me. He says, there's all types of ways. Side jack, back jack, the catcher stance.
Yeah, the catcher stance jack.
The catcher stance jack. Get updated on your jack nights. Hashtag never try jack.
We need to coin the term catcher stance jack. that even got Jarek laughing. That's telling you something right there.
Oh gosh. So that would be
Catcher stance jack.
the Young Kaiser's tweets of the week. Sponsored by KY Jelly. All right, moving on. Actual baseball. Go.
All right, first base. Ortiz. Is it a lock and load? Don't move off Ortiz night, Derek.
Sorry, you got to give me a second to compose myself.
Well, then I'm going to talk for a second. I think that it's probably a night where you want to use Ortiz, but if you don't, my boy CJ Cron is not in a terrible position. Mega Cron, if you will. But I'll let Derek talk about Ortiz for a second.
Not super on Ortiz because I do like Hutchison. I mean, he's not a bad play. I think I'd probably prefer Adrian Gonzalez as, one of the higher priced looking first base types. I think, you know what? I don't know who else I like even.
Adam Lind.
Adam Lind.
Yeah. Give me a little
Lind's
Lind.
alright. I'm okay with Lind.
On Draft Street, he's 4,600. I like his price quite a bit there. 3K on FanDuel is not quite as appealing. But I do like Lind quite a bit on Draft Street. And
I haven't... Oh, keep going. Yeah.
I haven't looked much. I mean, Morneau is in play, but I haven't... He's pricey on Draft Street.
Why are they batting him 6th? Like, that's super frustrating.
Yeah, 6 is bad for him, and against Kane, I don't think I'm going to have any Morneau tonight.
I'll have him in tournaments, but...
Garrett Jones is a solid cheaper play at first base tonight, batting 5th, platoon advantage against Kendrick at home.
You love Garrett Jones so much. You love Garrett Jones as much as I love CJ Cron.
I haven't recommended Jones in quite a while, but I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Garrett Jones. Pretty much anyone with cheap power I love. I love Mark Reynolds, not tonight, but those kind of guys, I don't know, I'm all about them. Juan Francisco. Even tonight, Juan Francisco isn't even in a bad spot.
Yeah. All right. I'm good with that though. First base is you kind of just go with where, like, you don't need to overthink first base. Like, if you have the money for Ortiz, I think you should probably just get him in there. Cron, Morneau are some other options for me. I think those are more off the board plays, but yeah. So third base though, I think you're doing it wrong if you don't play Josh Donaldson. Like, I think you're just doing it wrong. Tuttle, do you disagree with that? Obviously, on Draft Street, it's hard, and I know that's mostly where you've looked today. So you can probably talk about some other guys. Who are some other guys you're looking at?
Yeah, I disagree with that because I think both third base options and Coors are the play tonight. I don't think I mean, either way you want to go with that, I don't have a problem with it. They're in a much better hitting environment than Donaldson is.
Pablo Sandoval can get off my lawn.
You're getting him on the right side of the plate today, which you didn't get yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Sandoval, I love tonight.
Yeah, he's got the better platoon split tonight than what he has when he faces a lefty.
Yeah, I'll take Sandoval before Donaldson, but I do think Donaldson is in a very good spot tonight. He's getting the park shift up. He's got the platoon advantage against a really bad pitcher, batting 3rd. I think if you go Donaldson or Sandoval, I think you're not going wrong either way.
I mean, I'm taking Donaldson on DraftKings and FanDuel. Like, I'm working my lineup around there.
Even Longoria, I think, is fine tonight, and he's batting second, which you would love, Davis, because that means maybe an extra chance of an at bat.
Yeah, I was actually getting ready to mention that. Just because, you know, I'm a guy that doesn't believe in the hot cold streaks or whatever, so I think that batting second versus Mion, who I think is like not a good pitcher at all, I think that's a really good spot. But we're getting ready to talk more about that Rays lineup here in a second. So, Tuttle, any other third baseman that you want to talk about? I agree with you. I think those Coors Field guys are in a decent spot. I'm just taking Donaldson over them immediately.
Yeah, I just pointed out to Tommy the big thing in chat. Arenado's just stupid cheap on Draft Street.
Yeah.
So he's 5,093 on Draft Street, which you'll never see, you know, in the next month or so. So I think he's a really good play there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great matchup for him, but when he's cheap, I mean.
Yeah, it's a price play more than a matchup play.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to outfield. Basically, I thought outfield was kind of done today with Tyler Colvin with being super cheap everywhere, and then the Rockies guys. But Will Myers is leading off, so that obviously made me think twice. And not only that, he stole a base yesterday. So I am very intrigued by Will Myers versus Mion tonight, and I think also Kyle Blanks is definitely in play, batting second, and Craig Gentry is leading off. So what I'm trying to tell the audience is that Oakland Tampa Bay can field an entire outfield for you if you want it to. Are you on board with those plays, Derek?
Absolutely. Did you mention Brandon Guyer batting cleanup?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, Myers is batting leadoff, which is good, but Guyer batting, you know, cleanup is also good. You can find a lot of really good cheap outfielders tonight just in that game alone. And then you throw in guys like Colvin. You know, there's a lot of cheap outfielders you can go with tonight.
Yeah, I also... I think you should talk about Blanks just for a second, because I think a lot of the people are going to be like, he's not very good, but hasn't he always been a health guy? Isn't that the problem with him?
A lot of his problem has been health. I mean, he comes with a pedigree. He was hyped for so long. He's always like a sleeper in redraft leagues. But he's never done a whole lot. A lot of it because of health. A lot of it because he's never really been able to figure out Major League pitching. But at the very least, he does have power. He's going to strike out a pretty lot, but he's got power. He's in a neutralish park tonight. You know, it's better than what he's been accustomed to playing to in San Diego all these years. You know, he's got the platoon advantage against Bedard. He's batting second. So Blanks is a good play tonight, I think.
Yeah. All right, Tuttle. Outfield time for you now.
Okay. Well, we got a question in chat. Kyle Blanks or Gentry for the Oakland stack. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
It would depend on the site. I think on an on-base site, something like FanDuel, I think I would take Gentry. But where it's like more kind of power-driven, like DraftKings and Draft Street, I think I would take Blanks.
Sounds reasonable.
And I think a thing to take into consideration there, too, I think Blanks is a lot more likely to lose at-bats, or even more at-bats than what Gentry would. They're gonna be platoon him sooner than they would platoon Gentry, in my opinion. So I think that's something to take into consideration. Outfield for me, I like Grady Sizemore leading off. He's relatively cheap across the industry. Like pretty much most of those at-bats.
Worth noting that Carlos Gonzalez is actually discounted on Draft Street and DraftKings as well.
Yep. I like a lot of those bats in Colorado, and like you said, Gonzalez is really cheap on Draft Street.
And I think if you're a BVP guy, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Blackmon homer off Kane the last series at Coors Field? Maybe that didn't happen. Maybe I'm making that up. But all I remember is that the last time San Francisco came to town, Blackmon got a homer. It might have been off Kane, might have been off someone else. I don't actually know. Cool. Well, let's talk about before we talk about Elite, let's do guaranteed dongs. It's time. Tuttle, give us your obvious guy and your under the radar guy.
We'll go with Dink. I'm riding with Dink's BVP champ for the day, who's Carlos Gonzalez. I guess apparently BVP he's for 4 for 44 against Kane with 17 strikeouts. But I'm taking him to dong tonight. Carlos Gonzalez, baby.
Who's your under the radar guy?
Under the radar. Let's go Adam Lind.
Okay. Cardi.
Obvious. I'll go Donaldson. And
That was
under the
mine.
radar. Yeah, I figured he would be. Then I'll take Cespedes, whatever. And then under the radar, I'll take Tyler Colvin.
Ooh, Colvin is so good. Yeah, Colvin is. Yeah, Derek and I like the same guys tonight. So if Derek and I are both gonna have either good or bad nights probably. So I'm gonna take my obvious guy will be Donaldson, and my under the radar guy will be CJ Cron because obviously love CJ Cron. Kitchen, let's pull up this elite draft that Tuttle and I did though.
That I won, you mean?
Will you stop with this, dude?
You passed on you had first pick and you passed on Eovaldi.
I took Wakado.
Yeah, but you passed on Eovaldi. That's
Well,
that's like
that's
against
the right decision. Pass
it's
it.
it's the right decision, but that's not a Cardi decision. Or I mean not Cardi. It's not a Matic decision.
Well, I was talking with Dink the other day, and basically what he told me is that he was proud of me because I've been playing baseball more intelligently because I haven't been listening to myself, and I've been listening to the numbers more, which is not something that I did with basketball. With basketball, I made a lot of intuitive decisions based off guys that I liked, and obviously I had a pretty good basketball season, but when Drew Dinkmeyer is proud of you, you try not to let him down as much as possible.
Well, I'm just hoping that you don't take advantage of the late swap feature because you have two guys that aren't even in the lineup. So I'm just hoping you get the zeros from two guys that aren't in the lineup.
I obviously understand that they're not in the lineup, idiot, but I wanted to.
That's why you drafted him. Okay, makes sense.
No, I drafted him because I was looking for another starting pitcher, I don't know what I was doing actually. I'm drunk. No, I honestly, a lot of the times with elite drafts, my last 3 picks, I'm just trying to fill slots because I'm gonna come back I'm just gonna come back in and use the Baseball Press page to find out what I'm gonna be doing later. All right, yep, got that out. All right, last thing we need to talk about, the game, the pitcher, the batter that you're going to be taking or fading that you are most going to regret. Derek, who is your I'm going to regret this player of the night?
I was about to say Tyson Ross because Grandal was out of the lineup, but Rene Rivera actually looks like he's a pretty good defensive catcher too. So let's go to Tuttle and give me a second to figure out who else I want to say.
I know who I'm going to regret fading, and that will be the Oakland A's bats tonight.
Well,
I currently don't have any.
Well, that's stupid. Gentry and blanks are really cheap, dude.
I'm going to regret fading the Colorado bats.
I think mine is I'm going to regret going all in on the A's bats because I think Bedard will give up like 3 runs or something, but like he's not going to give up, like he's not going to have a complete meltdown start against the A's, and I'm going to regret having blanks and Gentry and Cespedes and Donaldson and Norris. Like I'm just going to regret having all of these guys. So I think that no, my regret is going to be using. I'm changing it. My regret is going to be using Eovaldi as my 3rd pitcher on Draft Street. I'm already telling you that's a mistake.
I was just going to say my regret is whoever my 3rd pitcher is on Draft Street.
Yep, and it's Eovaldi. I should be using Waka and Rosenthal, and instead I'm using
Quintana. I'm telling you.
I'm not using Jose Quintana.
Use Quintana.
Derek, no.
It's
Davis is too much of a
Quintana,
homer.
Cardi. It's Quintana.
No. I actually am gonna have to pull up his Fangraphs page. I know nothing about him. I have no idea if he's good or bad.
He's not going to be as bad as you think he is.
Oh, man. Well, that's good stuff. Guys, appreciate you being on the show today. Tomorrow we'll have Tuttle and Knapp. Tuttle, are you playing tonight on Draft Street versus G?
That's right. That's why I've only focused on Draft Street today. Got to take G down.
Yeah, so hopefully you can clinch it early and not have to worry about a deciding Game 3. We'll have this link up from Davis and Tuttle. I do want to mention, Stanton is $5K minimum salary. If you missed that on Elite, so if you want to take some drafts, he's minimum salary. Kemp is still $5K as well. So you can basically take whoever you want with those guys, which is what Tuttle did. So with that being said, thanks to Derek, Davis, and Dan. My name is David, and we are done. You gonna make a shot, Tuttle? You gonna make a shot?
I got no balls.
You can say that again. Oh yeah, come on, Davis, come on.
No, guys, I don't think you understand how many drugs I'm on.
I think we do.
Oh, we got Cardi doing dancing. We're good. Woo.
Any day when Cardi does something, it's a good day. God, Eovaldi is gonna give up like 9 home runs tonight, isn't he?
Yeah. You know who's not going to? Jose Quintana.
Dude, okay, I'm about to pull up his fan graphs right now.
Are we still streaming?
Oh yeah.